There's a point in every offseason when it stops feeling like routine roster work and starts feeling like something way bigger is brewing. And for the San Francisco 49ers, that moment is right now. Excited. This isn't just about a few random updates popping up on the timeline. This is about major pressure points, big money signals, huge roster questions, and the kind of moves that can change the ceiling of an entire season. So here's the real question, NY fans. Curious, are they just tweaking the roster? Or are they loading up for one more all-out Super Bowl run? Because let's start with the biggest unresolved issue hanging over this team like a storm cloud that just won't leave. Trent Williams. What exactly is going on here? That question still matters. A lot. Even after all the movement San Francisco has made in free agency, this situation still feels unsettled, and that's not a small thing when you're talking about one of the most critical positions in football. According to Tim Kawakami, the status is basically unchanged, which suggests Williams is still very likely to be back for the 2026 season. But here's the twist. There could still be a holdout after the way this whole thing has been handled over the past few weeks. And that's where the tension kicks in. Because this isn't some replaceable spot. This is left tackle. This is the blind side protector. This is one of the most important roles on any championship caliber team. And right now, based on the information we have, the 49ers do not have a real answer behind him. No obvious successor, no clear long-term fix, no clean transition plan. That means the leverage is all on Williams' side, and the 49ers know it. Everybody knows it. And when a team with championship expectations is still depending on one veteran to hold down a position this massive, every little update becomes a headline. That's also why the lack of real trade traction matters. Adam Schefter and Peter Schrager already indicated that moving Williams never looked like a realistic option, and Schefter even said he didn't expect a trade to happen. Think about that. If there were a real market for him, if teams were truly circling, wouldn't we have heard something stronger by now? Wouldn't there be real smoke? But there hasn't been. And that tells you something. It tells you San Francisco may not love how this has looked, but they also know they can't afford to let him walk away from this thing unless they've got a real answer ready to go. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Kawakami also suggested he'd be very surprised if the 49ers don't use their first two picks on a wide receiver and an edge rusher, in some order. If that happens, then what? That means Williams' successor might not even be in this draft class for San Francisco. That means the team could enter another season still leaning on him heavily while the future of that position stays wide open. So yeah, this isn't just about one player. It's about roster architecture. It's about timing. It's about how much risk a contender is willing to carry at one of the most dangerous spots on the field. But if that issue is the quiet pressure building in the background, the next story is the one that blew the doors wide open. Nick Bosa, Yeezy contract restructure changed the conversation instantly, and not just because of the money itself, but because of what it could mean. The 49ers converted $21.465 million of Bosa's salary into a signing bonus, creating $17.17 million in additional cap space and pushing their total to $42.4 million. That's top-tier flexibility. That's not pocket change. That's not just, let's keep our options open money. That's, we might be lining something up money. So naturally, everybody's asking the same thing. Who are they creating this space for? And this is where the speculation gets absolutely electric. Sure, the 49ers need a defensive end after Bryce Huff retired. Sure, Joey Bosa is a free agent. And yes, pairing him with his brother would make for a wild storyline. But let's be real, San Francisco does not need over $40 million in cap space to make a move like that. The number is too big. The timing feels too intentional. Which brings us to the name that takes this whole thing from interesting to explosive. Maxx Crosby. Now we're talking about a move that could shake the entire NFC. According to the information here, Crosby fits the exact profile of the kind of player who would justify a move like this. He's elite, he's expensive, he's under contract through 2029, and his base salary never even climbs above $30 million a year, which actually makes him a bargain compared to what some other stars are costing. The logic is crystal clear. The 49ers have a need. They have the cap room, and they have the draft capital to make a real offer. So why not at least make the call? Of course, it's not that simple. There's a real wrinkle here. The Raiders reportedly tried to send Crosby to the Ravens, but the deal fell apart after he failed his physical. He recently had a meniscus repair, and there are concerns that his knee could have long-term issues. That matters. It absolutely matters. Nobody should pretend otherwise. But here's why the conversation is still so hot. If those medical concerns bring the price down, that could actually make him even more tempting for a team in win-now mode. And if San Francisco really is in win-now mode, then the argument writes itself. Trent Williams is 38. The offensive line still has questions. The margin for error doesn't feel huge forever. So if there's a chance to turn the defensive front into an absolute nightmare, why wouldn't the 49ers push the chips in? Imagine a line featuring Nike, Bosa, Max Crosby, Osa Odigizua, and Michael Williams. That's not just good, that's terrifying. That's the kind of front that can wreck games before they even settle in. That's the kind of front that can make every quarterback in the conference feel the walls closing in. That's the kind of front that can drag a team deep into January. And honestly, that's why this feels like more than random buzz. It feels like a fork in the road. Play it safe or swing for the fences. NY fans, I've got to ask, if it were up to you, would you go all in for Max Crosby right now, or is the injury risk just too much? Drop that in the comments because this debate is going to get loud. Now let's shift to the draft, because that's where this whole thing starts to feel even bigger. The 49ers have already been active. They brought in Mike Evans. They kept Dre Greenlaw. They traded for Osa Odigizua. But edge rusher still feels unfinished, and that's a problem. San Francisco reportedly pursued John Franklin Myers and got outbid by the Titans. Add that to Bryce Huff's retirement and the ACL recoveries for both Nike Bosa and Michael Williams, and suddenly the pass rush doesn't look like a luxury target anymore. It looks like a must-address area. That's why the projection of Akeem Mesidor in round 1 makes so much sense. If the 49ers really are trying to stay in the Super Bowl window right now, they can't afford to think only in terms of long-term development. They need impact. They need production. They need players who can step on the field and matter. Mesidor brings exactly that kind of profile. He posted 12.5 sacks in 2025, along with 63 tackles, 17.5 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles. That's serious production. That's not hype. That's disruption. And it's not just the stats. His versatility jumps off the page too. He's lined up at multiple spots across the front, including 3 technique, 5 technique, and stand-up edge roles. For a defense that wants creativity and pressure, that kind of flexibility can be a huge weapon. Yes, there's a possible concern about his age. He'll be 25 at the start of the 2026 season. But for a team trying to win right now, that may not matter nearly as much as whether he can help immediately. And if that mock is right, the 49ers could follow that up in round 2 with offensive tackle Max Ihenekor, which would give them a possible answer for the offensive line while also attacking the pass rush. That would be a major statement. Not flashy for the sake of being flashy, smart, urgent, and targeted. And then there's the move that may have changed the energy of this offense more than anything else: Mike Evans. This one is massive, not just because of the player, but because of what he represents. Evans didn't just sign with San Francisco to collect a check or chase numbers. He made it clear that Brock Purdy was part of the reason he wanted to be there, and that matters. When a veteran star with Hall of Fame level production chooses your team and points to your quarterback as a reason why, that says something powerful about where the franchise stands. Evans talked about Levi's Stadium, the fan energy, the history of the organization, and how this move feels like a second wind in his career. But the biggest takeaway was how he spoke about Purdy. He called him a true professional. He said he saw back in 2022 that if they ever played together, he could help him a lot. And he made it clear he believes Purdy can reach the highest levels. Super Bowl champion, MVP candidate, the whole thing. That's not just praise. That's a veteran buying into the mission. And when you look at the weapons now, it's easy to see why fans are fired up. Purdy, George A. Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans. On paper, that is a loaded group. That is a group that can put stress on any defense in the league. The report even says this may be the strongest group of offensive weapons Purdy has had since becoming the starter. That's huge. And Evans isn't arriving empty-handed. He's bringing one of the most ridiculous resumes in the NFL, including 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons, tying Jerry Rice. But even bigger than the numbers is the mentality. He's coming in believing this team can chase a Super Bowl right now. So when you put all of this together, the picture becomes impossible to ignore. A crucial veteran situation still unresolved, new cap space suddenly opening up, a draft path that could attack two major needs, a premier weapon joining the offense, and fully buying into Brock Purdy. That's not random noise. That's a franchise staring at high-stakes decisions that could define 2026. And that's why every move from here feels huge. Because this is not a normal offseason anymore. This is pressure. This is opportunity. This is a contender deciding whether to make one more run with everything on the table. So now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest move the 49ers still need to make? Go get Crosby, lock down the offensive line, load up in the draft? Drop your take, share this with another NY Ners fan, and let's talk about it. Because if San Francisco gets these next moves right, this team could be coming for everybody.